we talk about successful customer experience transformation, right? Not just operational customer experience. I really like to work with 5 types of experience. Because if you really want to create transformation, a more customer human-centric organization, you need more than just enhancing your journeys, right? You need something around brand. You need to make sure that employees are excited to actually work with it. You need to make sure that your digital channels are aligned. So what I started working with, I think around 5 years ago, is using those 5 types of experience. And also I started using this framework because what I see is that there's miscommunication when it comes to the scope, right? The customer service is saying they're doing customer experience. UX team is saying they're doing customer experience. Marketing is saying they're doing customer experience. And they're not wrong. It's not like they're not doing it, but I just noticed that it's not really helpful if you don't know exactly, okay, but what's what. So I started working with these 5 types of experience. Brand experience, number 1. Why number 1? Because your brand is telling you something about who you want to be, right? What is our purpose? Why are we different from all the other organizations? And what I forgot to mention in the intro is that I see a lot of companies mixing up their metrics, right? Like, when do I use NPS? When do I use the customer effort score? That's for me also where this framework comes in. So after explaining the 5 types, I'll also let you know how I see where you should place the different metrics. Okay, brand experience number 1. Customer experience to me are all the journeys. So from the moment I've decided I'm going to ING, I go to the website, I order something, I get an insurance, then I'm a customer. So all my journeys with the company, that to me is customer experience. How I even think about ING, that to me is a brand experience, right? That's where the 2 are aligned. For each journey, I want to know 2 things. Is it in line with our brand promise? Is it in line with my brand promise? And what are the key drivers of that journey? Should I be super fast? Should it be super easy? Should I give a lot of personal attention? Right? That's where the driver analysis comes in, as you can also find in one of the other videos. The third one is employee experience. So employee experience for me is the same scope as customer experience, but then it's all the journeys of the employees. So I have my recruitment journey. I have my onboarding journey. I'm working for this organization. I'm leaving the organization. How I even consider working for ING in this example, that is, let's say, the employer version of brand experience, right? Employer branding. For each journey of the employee, again, I want to know 2 things. Is the recruitment journey in line with our brand promise? Is my onboarding journey in line with my brand promise? And what are the key drivers of my employees? Are they really energized by salary? Trust me, that's not a key driver. Are they really energized by making an impact on customers? Yes. More purpose, right? So you also want to figure out what are the key drivers for employees to be happy. And you hear me maybe being a bit careful about mentioning employee engagement, and I'll explain that in a minute why I'm not saying employee engagement. The 4th type is service experience. So service experience to me are human channels. I call, I email, I chat. This is where first time fix, for example, comes in, right? Answering in one go. But also first time right, making sure you prevent unnecessary contacts. So here it's more a combination of efficiency, preventing calls, and creating a good experience when I call customer service. Then 5th and final is user experience. And I know that most service design colleagues will disagree, right? They will see a much larger scope for UX, but I just see that's not really helpful in daily reality. So for me, I just place UX really on the digital side. So it's the app, it's the website, the My Account. And on the UX side, of course, conversion matters, right? How many people start with the form and actually get through it in the end ordering. That's more, let's say, a sales-driven metric. So on the experience side, you also want to understand how easy it is to do something, which already should give you some idea of which metric I will place at the user experience. Okay, let me start and go back with brand experience when it comes to the metrics. So brand experience for me is the Net Promoter Score. not a fan of NPS as such, but if your board is really strongly convinced that they need to have it, place it on brand experience. Once a year, maximum twice a year, just as a sanity check. Don't do any root cause analysis. Check out the video on root cause analysis and drivers. Why? Just ask the NPS question and ask the general satisfaction question, right? How satisfied are you with the services of company X as a whole? That's your temperature check. That's not the tool that will get you to understand what you need to do to improve it. That comes from the second one, customer experience. So for me, the metric for all the journeys is satisfaction. So how satisfied are you with ordering product X? How satisfied are you with applying for an insurance policy, right? So the satisfaction of that specific journey, same technique, figuring out the drivers of satisfaction, transactional and emotional. Then, as I mentioned already, the employee engagement, tricky word. I'll also make a separate video on employee engagement, but for now, the key thing you need to know is that almost all employee engagement tools are not actually measuring employee engagement, at least not as, science defines employee engagement. They measure like eNPS, satisfaction, and maybe your intention to stay, and then they blend it into a mix and they call it, hey, this is the employee engagement index. Just because it's called an index doesn't mean that it's, a scientifically sound way of measuring it. Now, I'm not the super, science, it has to be scientifically correct. I'm super pragmatic. But the problem, if you're not actually measuring employee engagement, then you will never find actually how to improve it, right? So here it matters that you know what you're measuring. The good news, there's already a valid and many years used existing scale that measures my emotional commitment to the organization. Statements like, I feel at home at company X. I care about the long-term success, right? These are 3 statements that you can just copy and use. They're just for anyone available. And then you know for sure you're actually measuring the emotional side of, let's say, the happiness of employees. So that's an important one. For service experience, as I mentioned, I like a combo of, first time fix, definitely measure it, it's a driver. But already everybody's measuring that, so keep on doing that. I would add 2, so I'll measure satisfaction, how satisfied were you with calling customer service, for example, but also first time right. So first time right is the question, dear customer, do you think we could have prevented this call, this email? So this is all about prevention, because every person that says yes is you reducing costs while at the same time making them happier. Right? There's a lot of win-win there. And we've seen almost every time 30% of customers saying, yes, you could have prevented. So that's a huge business case, right? Huge potential. Then last but not least, on the UX side, that's for me the only place for the customer effort score. So the customer effort score is, let's say, the newest metric. It was launched in 2013. So you had satisfaction, then the Net Promoter Score was launched in 2003 from the top of my head, and then the customer effort score. And the customer effort score, also a lot of people are struggling. They tend to place it in customer service because that's where the authors of the book have done their research. But it's so transactional. And so the customer effort score is the question, how easy was something? So the app made it easy to check my invoice. The website made it easy for me to order a product. That's really transactional, right? So you also want to place that on a specific part of your My Account on your app to really be specific, oh, this part of the digital experience, how easy is that for you? Scale of 1 to 5, and then based on the score, let's say if it's a 5, hey, amazing. What's one thing that made it so easy? If it's a 1 and 2, ooh, sorry. What is one thing that we can do to make it better, right? So you also make the open text depending on the score that you're given. So the 5 types of experience: brand, customer, employee, service, and UX, with their corresponding metrics: NPS, satisfaction, emotional commitment as a true metric of employee engagement, satisfaction and first time right, and the customer effort score only on the digital side. So every time when I share this framework of the 5 types of experience, a lot of people feel, hey, this is really helpful, because each type of experience also tends to be represented by different department. The employee experience is HR, service experience tends to be customer service, marketing tends to be CX and branding, and there's a digital team that's doing something with UX, and they don't really talk with each other, right? So it's difficult to bridge those silos, but this framework is really helpful. So I'll also put a link so you have just in one slide and one sheet, you have the 5 types and their metrics available. I hope that's helpful.